What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other great host of this show, Nick. And Nick, the Rams are officially doing a joint practice with the Cowboys as of today. Preseason starts on Sunday. The season is here. But first and most importantly, how are you, my good brother?
I'm good. I'm doing good, man. I got to meet Dean's baby, my nephew, this week. So it's been the greatest week. That's just really awesome. Super cool. Couldn't be happier. It's been like the best time ever. I can't say enough great things.
Uncle Nicky is here to stay.
Yes.
And he's just in time for the Rams' preseason game. We got a new Rams fan that's going to be in a Cooper Cup onesie come week one for the regular season, which is why I'm rocking my Cooper Cup shirt as of today, because he's healthy. And, that may not be the case for a lot of Rams on the roster. So before we get into this episode, we're going to talk plenty about the injuries. We're going to talk about the preseason game coming up. We're going to talk about the joint practices, Puka Nacua, everything in between. But I want to make sure that you guys are liking and subscribing. A lot of great content coming your guys' way. Tons of shorts, posting like 3 shorts a day. Got 1 episode a week. We're going to kick it up to 2 when the season starts. So we appreciate your guys' support. And also, this episode is brought to you by our partner, Autograph. You can see the ticker at the bottom of the screen. Autograph, a company co-founded by Tom Brady. What we need you guys to do is scan this QR code. The QR code that's over here. It's B1B3F930 as a reference code. So once you put in your email address, you'll be asked to put in a reference code. That is our referral code, and you guys will be officially signed up for Autograph. It's a really sick app. All you got to do is consume Rams content. You sign up, you click on the Rams to be your favorite team. You scroll through content, you listen to our podcast, you watch videos on YouTube, you read blogs, and that is how you earn points for rewards that you could apply to tickets and Rams merchandise. So there, you're just basically getting rewarded for being a Rams fan. We need you guys to do this. We're about halfway to our total to where we need to be. And then the partnership continues to rise. And, it's a good partnership to be a part of. And we're happy to work with a company that is, co-founded by Tom Brady, but it's a really good brand, a really good app. Interface is clean, and it's here to stay.
It's really fan focused. What I like about it too is like if there's a game coming on for a team that you said that I want to follow this team, it shows you that the game's coming on. They're giving Puka highlights. They're showing not just our podcast but other Rams podcasts. Like in that section, it's really it's the interface itself is fantastic, and everything that I've seen from it, just as somebody who's downloaded it himself, has been really top quality. And I've been trying to get the points so I can actually get a ticket to one of these Rams games this year, because then I'll just listen back to our podcast and be like, oh, why did I go off on that tangent for so long? But at least I can do it and get points while I'm doing that.
Yep. Support us, support others, Ram content creators. It is a shared space. We support each other. So we appreciate you guys. So the regular season is exactly a month away as of today. So the Rams, their first preseason game is this Sunday, August 11th versus the Cowboys in SoFi Stadium. They have a joint practice today versus Dallas in Dallas. But Nick, is it just me, or does it feel like it's been a whirlwind for them going back and forth between Loyola Marymount University? They're back to Cal Lutheran University for practice. Then they were at the Bolt for the Chargers joint practice, the new Chargers facility, where Rams players were making comments about the state of the facility and why, the Rams' practice facility, the permanent one in Woodland Hills, isn't quite ready yet. It feels like there's been a lot going on, plus the injuries over the last 3 weeks or so. So you can understand why there's a little bit of concern. There's a little bit of panic from Rams fans, but it seems like just a massive whirlwind for the coaching staff, for the players, for the fans, and everything in between. I think we're just ready for the season to get started.
I think the players are probably more peeved than they want to let on about. I mean, injuries are going to be an annoyance, and they're going to start adding up, and people are like, "What the hell's going on?" But then you walk into the Chargers facility, which is like leaps and bounds better than what the Rams are practicing on right now, and they're like, "Why is theirs like they're the sub-tier team? Like we should be like our facility should be ready by now. Like we're done practicing in this in these like random colleges. We're in Loyola Marymount." It's just too much going on. And I feel like that, like at least to start a season can kind of eat away at you until you get back into the building of SoFi. So now that they're in Dallas, I feel like Dallas too. It's like last time we played them, we were in Jerry World. We got our asses handed to us. So it's probably not like a place that they're like excited to go to right now. And then we all know how Sean treats the preseason, where it's like we're not going to see a lot of the first team, if any. Like I'd be shocked. I saw that our friend Cam De Silva was saying how he wants to see like a couple of like the young rookies get some snaps. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, the way that the injuries are happening too, like I feel like fans are highly concerned over the facilities, right? Like you could blame the facility at LMU, you could blame the travel back and forth, you could blame Cal Lutheran for, because a lot of these injuries are lower body injuries, they're ankle injuries, they're foot injuries. But like to your point, yeah, I think there's the big question is, as of right now, which rookies are going to see time, right? You saw Steve Avila get some time as of last year, Puka Nacua limited snaps, but like considering the circumstances, considering how valuable some of these players are going to be in terms of starters, in terms of contributors for this upcoming season, I think it's highly concerning in terms of like who's going to be playing in preseason, if they're going to be on a pitch count, if they're going to play a quarter and a half. And you look back at like the Chiefs, historically with Andy Reid plays as starters in the preseason. Aaron Rodgers played in last year's preseason. So like it's different. There's no perfect science. You can't get it right. It's impossible. So it's really going to be kind of Sean McVay's judgment in terms of who steps up, who doesn't for the preseason. But like you're going to see Stetson Bennett under center week 1 versus the Dallas Cowboys. And, he's probably going to be behind a second team offensive line, because if you do play starters, you want the starters to play with the first team, the second team players to play with the second team. You got to have all of those things matched so that you can get everything on the right track going into the season. So, it feels like, a little bit of a headache. We're trying to stay optimistic, but like the last 2-3 weeks has been an overwhelming amount of pretty aggravating news, right? I mean, like even the Puka Nacua injury, right? Everybody was like trying to figure out what the hell is going on with Puka Nacua. Is it a long-term injury? Is it a structural issue? Like there's nothing that is going to take him off of the field for week 1, thank God. But landing on a bursa sac, which is a small pocket of fluid in your knee, it's like an injury that like nobody even knew about. Bursitis was an injury going back to the 2020 season that Cooper Kupp was dealing with after the divisional round against Green Bay. He missed the game actually due to a different injury, but he was dealing with bursitis, had to get his knee drained. There was needles, there was blood. It was just a really, really aggravating situation. And he was on a management plan heading into the 2021 season. He went on to have his best season ever, the best season a wide receiver has ever had in the history of the league in a 21-game span. But like you're still overly concerned about like little tiny things, because Sean McVay was pretty vague when the injury originally happened. It was like, okay, Puka is expected to be ready for the opener against Detroit, but like, it seemed like he was like, I don't know what happened. I didn't see it. I don't know. So, I mean, like there's a reason why fans get concerned, why fans speculate, and why fans are trying to, find the underlying information and find the clip where it happened to diagnose the injury, because this is, like you said, it's a face of the franchise at this point.
Yeah, it's something that Sean McVay came out and he was like, guaranteed no matter what, we're going to see Puka week 1, which at the bare minimum is what you really want to hear, because like you're hoping that it's just nothing at all and that he's going to be able to like get his reps in at, not even the preseason games, but just the practices leading up to the start of week 1. And it seems like that is not really what's going to be happening now. And it's going to be more of like, he'll be ready week 1, but we don't exactly know how much we can use him in week 1. And it's just, all this stuff just keeps adding up. And it feels like ever since we started camp, we've only been getting negative news, which has just been, just a bummer. But it's, you have to find a way to spin it. You have to just realize that all this stuff, it's all just talk. And then like you hear on the other side, it's all negativity. And yet somehow through all the negativity, Stetson Bennett seems to be flourishing, is all the news I hear about him. So hopefully, there is some positivity to be spun out of this.
There are.
Don't watch these preseason games expecting any types of wins. I mean, small victories in like completions and like good looking plays and like liking what you're seeing on like the defensive scheme. But we all know how it is. I think we went like maybe one win last year in the preseason.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. You're working on little details. You're working on, evolving the depth of the roster so that if they need to come in and contribute, they can. And it's like, here's a way to spin it too. You're looking at guys like Alaric Jackson, who has an ankle injury. You're looking at guys like Rob Havenstein, who also has an ankle injury, who stepped on a week ago, last Thursday in practice. Looking at Jonah Jackson, whose injury designation to his shoulder was 4 to 6 weeks. But all of these guys are seemingly going to be ready for week one. So you're kind of thankful over the fact that this has happened already, but like there's a lot of ways that they're going to transition. And I think you're going to see it a little bit in the preseason in terms of just personnel groupings. And also like you're getting depth, right? You just signed Conor McDermott, who I'm a pretty big fan of in terms of his experience at right and left tackle. He has familiarity with Mike LaFleur and Ryan Wendell. I expect to see him in some games this year if you're going to be missing Rob Havenstein or you're going to be missing Alaric Jackson at some point. They signed Matt Caskey from the UFL. They also signed interior offensive lineman Alec Lindstrom from the UFL. So you got some camp bodies, you got some practice players that are going to be able to contribute in practice specifically to be able to help other guys get reps. So, I mean, like the big conversation though is around how are you going to be able to set this up for success if you are still dealing with some of the injury concerns, because you start to feel the pressure a little bit now. I don't think it's necessarily time to panic, but the offensive line has to stay healthy for Matthew Stafford to stay healthy and for the run game to excel and advance from where it did last year. And the Stafford's contract situation even adds to it, meaning like if things go poorly this year, he could, he's hurt. He could be legitimately looking for another situation as of next year. But I think if the offensive line does stay healthy, there will be a strong dose of 12 personnel. Like this is the way the personnel formation looks in 12 personnel, the grouping. You're going to take a receiver off the field. You might see a little bit of 12 personnel earlier on in the season because you have guys like Colby Parkinson and Davis Allen. Think of the way that the Patriots deployed Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez back in the day, right? Like you got a player that is an extension of the offensive line in Colby Parkinson with his pass protection and run blocking abilities. Davis Allen is a really good pass catcher, middle of the field option that both Stafford and Sean McVay trust. Like, I think if that's going to happen, it's going to happen early. You saw this deployed in 2019 when the Rams were struggling with personnel issues with offensive line health. You saw it in the back half of the Super Bowl in 2018. And then also 13 personnel. You could see this once Tyler Higbee comes back, but I think that the real downside to doing this is you're taking really talented receivers off the field. 12 personnel only features 2 receivers and favors the extra tight end, while 13 personnel only features 1 receiver and favors 2 extra tight ends. So it's a little bit of a transition from what you see with the heavier groupings and 11 personnel that the Rams like to deploy. But you got to be able to implement some of this stuff. You got to be able to adjust on the fly. What Sean McVay has shown he's very capable of doing. But these are going to be the things that come up if the offensive line cannot stay healthy and Matthew Stafford is battered and bruised in the pocket when the season starts.
Them bringing in signing the kid from New England, Connor, and then also looking to the USFL to bring in 2 more guys. I do believe is them saying a little bit, we were not expecting to get hit that hard this early in the offensive line, and we need a contingency plan if this is a recurring thing for our team this season, because it all stems, like you were just saying, in keeping Stafford upright and keeping the run game strong. And with that, you need, you can then lean a little bit more heavy on 13 personnel and bring more tight ends to block, but what that what that does is you're limiting your weapons on offense, and you hope that you want to get Puka and Kupp and Tutu and Robinson just out there as much as possible. So
bingo.
It is a little scary to but it's also, I'm happy that they're taking the steps now, and it's not 2 weeks into the season. And it's okay, these guys, our offensive line is down, they're bruised, and now we need to be either making trades or signing people from free agency that don't have a team. Connor, I think will McDermott from New England, he'll probably see the field this season, I would imagine.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in some capacity, right? But that's the 2 ways to pivot from this. You sign offensive line talent and you bring in heavier personnel groupings. And that's why you signed a guy like Colby Parkinson. That's why you've been developing a guy like Davis Allen, who's in his second year, who was really talented. You saw it in the preseason. You saw it towards the end of the 2023 season. Like, these guys do have talent. McVay does have trust in them. So does Matthew Stafford. So they're already proactively addressing these issues, which is a reason why you should stay optimistic, because this is a team that knows how to stay on top of things, especially as of the last couple of years. They've drafted really well. They've developed talent. They've addressed issues before they really reared their ugly heads. But like, maybe this is a blessing that this is all happening, because now you're going to be able to deploy 3 different personnel groupings that you're practicing towards and can implement in any situation of the game. Even in goal line situations, you go heavier personnel groupings with a guy like Colby Parkinson and Davis Allen, even Tyler Higbee. 3 tight ends on the field in the red zone is going to be tricky to defend, right? If you're kind of keeping things contained, you're trying to get things over the middle. And even if you're just trying to block the outside, you're trying to run a stretch outside zone play just to be able to get Corum or Kyron to the end zone in the corner. So like, I have a lot of faith in the fact that they're being proactive, right? Because that's what you need to do as a coaching staff, as a training staff, to be able to stay on top of the 8 ball here. So like, I think there is a little bit of concern, but nothing to be overly stressed out about at this point, considering the season is still 1 full month away from beginning. So,
I mean, today is the day when we'll be playing in Detroit on Sunday night, a month from today. I guess the season will have started a little earlier because there's Thursday, Friday games to start the season, but our season doesn't start until exactly 1 month.
And here's another really positive aspect of everything that has happened so far in training camp. Like, you got a guy like Darius Williams, who you paid a decent amount of money to come back to Los Angeles, who's going to be a starting outside cornerback. Like, he's a guy that had a hamstring injury, 3 weeks ago at this point. He's working off to the sideline with the training staff. He looks good. He was at a recent practice running around on the sideline. He looks like he's going to be able to come back soon. You got guys like Braden Fisk, right? V8, Jared Verse, and Braden Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin. Everybody is saying is the real deal. Everybody is saying that Braden Fisk, if you saw him in person, he's had one of the best training camps amongst all defensive players. Like, this is a guy that is going to consistently step up, work hard. I think between Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, these 2 guys are the real deal. Like, and then this is all outside of what we've seen so far in the secondary, right? So guys like Cam Curl, Quentin Lake, Cam Kinchins, I feel like they're just doing a really good job of staying healthy, staying young, staying hungry. And that's where some of these defenses where you're like, I don't know how good the Rams defense is going to be this season. Well, you got a young, hungry defense that's going to be flying around the football. You got a young front that's all going to be working in collaboration. Nobody cares about themselves. They only care about the result of the team. And I feel like that's where young players really kind of excel, where they get into their strides in terms of growth. And guys like Kobe Turner and Byron Young, right? Like, these guys, these are all guys that, have had really good rookie campaigns and are going to be building upon that in year 2, going on to year 3. And then you got all these other rookies that have come in. And it seems like they're all having really good training camps. So, I mean, I think that's a strong positive to kind of hang your hat on, is outside of Derion Kendrick, the defense is healthy and ready to go.
I feel like up until last year, like, being like a really young team wasn't really something that people were like championing around. And then the Packers make it like really far and look like really good to end the season. And our season, like, I remember there were reports that, like, if the Rams are bad, like, they don't know it. Like, the training camps, everything coming from camp is just really positive with like all these young guys. And I think now, especially when you see these like players that have gone far in their, like, have gotten like, the tread on their tires have gotten a lot thinner, but are still getting these like big signings. A lot of people are like kind of pivoting more towards like, okay, yeah, you can go sign Derrick Henry for a bunch of money, but we can draft a couple, like 2 or 3 running backs that can kind of be just as explosive if used together. And right. I mean, no disrespect to the King. I'm probably going to end up drafting him this year in fantasy because I have the 10th pick. So that's probably who's going to be the best option available on the board. But still, like, the age should now I think should be seen and spun as like, this is very exciting that our defense is this young and hungry again.
I feel the same way, right? Because like everything I've seen from a mic'd up perspective, you got Quentin Lake and you got Jared Verse mic'd up. You see the way that they interact with Kobe Turner and Byron Young and even Braden Fisk. Like there's an overwhelming amount of confidence. And that's kind of the benefit of having a young team. It's like you if you're going to be bad, you don't know it. You have this confidence that you play with speed, you play with a lack of fear, and you play with a new defensive coordinator. Right, you play with a guy who's been with Sean McVay, who I think defensive players believe this is the defensive Sean McVay. These guys operate very similarly. They like to stay proactive in terms of the schemes that they're deploying. It's not too much of an overhaul as of what we saw last year, but there are going to be some new things in terms of defensive line stunts, in terms of sub packages that are deployed in the secondary. Just the way that it looks holistically may be a little bit the same at your very first glance, but the details are going to be benefiting the personnel that are on the field. I think the only downside to the defense as of right now is some of the lack of talent at inside linebacker, because there's not a ton of depth there right now. It's Ernest Jones and Christian Roseboom. Rams fans really wanted them to address the inside linebacker position in the offseason. We even wanted to look at it from an undrafted free agent perspective. Omar Spates was a guy that we had our eyes on in terms of somebody who could potentially make the roster. But I'm still looking at guys because like Troy Reeder and Jake Hummel, Troy Reeder, Super Bowl champion, Troy Reeder, and Jake Hummel from a special teams perspective, like those guys are very shaky in terms of depth. But like, I'm still looking. We were talking about a couple of episodes ago, Zach Cunningham, right? Shaq Leonard, both have experience from the Eagles. Brian Johnson has some familiarity there. Played in the Vic Fangio scheme, so some familiarities just in terms of concepts that the Rams like to deploy defensively. And then Josh Woods is another guy. They're all about 29, 30 years old from Arizona. You can give a one-year deal to, you spend $1.2 million, and there's some more veteran depth, guys that have 5-6 years of experience in this league. So like that second level of your defense outside of the front four might be a little bit shaky if you do have an injury to a guy like Ernest Jones, who I think had a knee injury in the middle of the year, this year so far, that he's been working back towards, and he's on the last year of his deal. So like, what does the position look like going into the middle of this year to the end of this year and in the next year too?
Yeah. I'd like
kind of scary.
You want to think of at least Shula and the team to like understand concepts and like to have like a really good idea of what they want to run and like who's going to be deep, like stopping explosive plays and like being strong up front. But you're going to worry about getting to the quarterback. I think we were like very low last year in like actually getting hits on the quarterback. And that is with a really strong interior defensive team, like, or defensive lineman. And that's why, like, that's where that comes from with all these Rams fans last year being like, can we just bring in some outside help just to have them solely worry about hitting the quarterback? So, yeah, I mean, I would love to bring in somebody that's kind of like a little older, that has a little more, whiskers on his face or whatever you want to say. Just somebody looks a little more like him than me, just to have a little, like, have the quarterback just be a little bit more uneasy. A horrible example, but similar to what they did when they brought in Clay Matthews.
I appreciate you calling me old, right? Yeah. And let's not bring in another Clay Matthews situation where he goes on and has to sue the organization because the organization still owes him money.
Right.
Oh, that Clay Matthews jersey.
The idea of what Clay Matthews represents.
Yeah, totally. And that could be from an edge perspective too. Like if they need a little bit of veteran help, you need some guys in terms of depth who can come in as a rotational player and just get after the quarterback from a power perspective. You got speed on both ends. Michael Hoyt's another guy who might play a little bit of inside, might play a little bit of outside. So you might need a little bit more versatility there on the outside. But like I would look at, inside linebacker, and I would look at some edge veteran help. But those three guys, like I mentioned, they're close to 30. I appreciate you calling me old. I am the same exact age as Cooper Kupp. So.
I'm still 29, so I'm not 30 yet.
Whenever there's a Cooper Kupp post, there's always some troll that comments, he's washed. I'm like, yeah, come on, we're only 31. We're not washed yet. We still got some
exact same birthday, right? Isn't it like the exact same?
Exact same birthday, exact same day, exact same year as Cooper Kupp.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. Hence
Crazy.
the fandom. This is actually what I wore at the Super Bowl, and got to see Cooper Kupp raise the MVP trophy while wearing the shirt. So I would say, big time Cooper Kupp supporter.
You didn't want to wear a jersey. I can't believe you didn't wear a jersey.
I'm more of a t-shirt guy.
Yeah.
No.
T-shirt looks
I didn't
better.
have a jersey. That trip was so last minute planned. I don't even think I had a jersey to wear during that game. So special teams too. Really good reports coming from Gentle Josh, Nick's favorite player, Joshua Carty. He's
Gentle
been
giant, Josh. Josh the gentle giant.
Josh the Giant, Josh the Gentle Giant. He's been crushing field goals. As of yesterday, I think it was, or 2 days ago, he hit one from 48, hit one from 50 plus. He was 7-7 in the practice that they were going through. He's probably going to be doing kickoffs, so he's going to be on the field for that because he is a bigger guy. So, I mean, like, if he can be the kicker of the future, I think special teams will be in a much better situation considering the kicker carousel that we had to deal with as of last year. I was also reading that Tutu Atwell, in terms of the first unofficial depth chart, is going to be the lead kick returner and lead punt returner for this team. Makes me a little bit nervous, considering his size, considering his experience so far with the Rams. And I was also reading that this was breaking from Jordan. She reported in her latest article that teams were calling about Tutu Atwell before the trade deadline as of last year. So if this relationship doesn't go well in the first, 4 or 5 weeks, I could see it ending because you still have Boston Scott, who is a great kick and punt returner. You still have a guy like Ronnie Rivers, who's going to be running back 4 on this roster, who's a great special teams contributor. So special teams, it seems like it's going to be better, but like it's all dependent on how the Rams handle this new kickoff situation and if Josh the Gentle Giant can knock them through the uprights.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want them to squander their relationship with Tutu. I feel like there is like you need somebody like that can just completely open up the field and just So
I get it.
We'll see. I hope that they keep him for the full season, but if not, I wouldn't. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
I just wouldn't be surprised if he fell in that Van Jefferson, Cam Akers situation. Let's pick swap 6th and 7th. And get your contract off the books because he is in last year of his deal. So if he doesn't perform, it's over.
But I don't know. Am I going nuts, or is there like a history of like Tutu Atwell drops that I'm like remembering?
Maybe in his first couple of years. I thought he was much better last year, and he even improved as a blocker. But then, like looking at the snap counts towards the end of last year, it was all DeMarcus Robinson at the X.
Yeah.
Especially if you're taking receivers off of the field for heavier personnel groupings, it just might not make sense to save a roster spot for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I didn't even really think about the 13 personnel option of it all.
Yeah. It's tough. You just don't know what's going to happen.
I feel like we only brought in Boston Scott exclusively for that. So the fact to hear that it's set up right now as Tutu kind of makes me like a little like, why?
I know it is kind of, it could change. Tutu will probably get some snaps in the preseason. They'll probably practice the kick return, with the 2 potential starters in terms of kick returns.
I'm sure we'll see him and Boston out there returning kicks.
Yeah, it's a shame. I thought we were going to bring in Boston Scott just to play the Giants because he scores 3 touchdowns every time he plays the Giants, but we don't play the Giants this year. So
no, we play the Jets though.
We do. I think it's right after Christmas, isn't it?
I think it's either right before or right after. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be even Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So we'll have more updates for you guys coming out of the joint practice, coming out of the preseason game this Sunday. Want to remind everybody to make sure to join Autograph. All you got to do is download the app. There's the referral code. Make sure that you punch in the referral code. Once you punch in your email, select the Rams as your favorite team. We need you guys to jump on this. It is a partnership that we're really proud of. We're really excited of. So scan that QR code, get the app, punch in the referral code, and you guys will be all set to go from that perspective. Just consume our content, consume other Rams fans' content, and you guys will have points that you can apply towards tickets and Rams merch.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to listen to the episode, you might as well just do it there,
Yeah.
Get some points, enjoy. Watch on YouTube afterwards to see how we looked. Whatever you want to do.
Bingo. And we're back on audio too. So Apple Pod, Spotify, you guys know where to find us.
Just needed a sponsor to help us out. Now we're back, back on audio. I know people were asking for it, all 10 of you. So we're happy to be back.
We appreciate you guys. Nick, it's amazing to have you home. So happy we're able to meet my son. We've already had a ton of fun in the first couple of days you've been home. Have a fun weekend planned. Get to watch a little preseason football together. In the meantime, we'll chat with you guys on social. We'll chat with you guys here soon. And we appreciate you. And go Rams.
Go Rams. Thanks for listening, everyone. Dean, I'll see you soon.
Sounds good, brother.